And this is our final book club in our 6-week journey here. And so we've had a few people join us, and Molly's been here almost every time. And how are you coming along with the book? Like,
good. I'm plugging away. I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've said all along, is that there's no pace. Everybody can go at whatever makes sense to them. We just talk about all the concepts together, no matter where we're at. And so Brad finished his a while ago. Mm-hmm. I don't even know where I'm at in my audiobook, like, because, you know, you can't tell, like, if you're halfway or whatever. I can just see like how many hours I have left to listen. And so, yeah, but I have read it before. And so it's always a good refresher. Something I heard this week was really good. And I was driving and I was like, well, I can't write it down while I'm driving.
Good plan.
But yeah, probably shouldn't do that. So we just have the 3, 15, 16, and 17 left to talk about with our takeaway points from the book here. And so without further ado, our first one: rich people have their money, work hard for them. Poor people work hard for their money. Most people grow up being told that they have to work hard for the money, just like the 80s hit song by Donna Summer. Yes, working hard is vital, but if you do it alone, working hard will never make you rich. Why? Think about the millions of people that work hard for the money. Are they rich? No. On the other hand, whom do you see golfing or playing tennis at the country clubs or vacationing several months out of the year? Rich people, right? Eckers states, I agree that you have to work for your money, but for rich people, the situation is only momentarily. For poor people, it's unending. Rich people believe that in order for your money to work hard for you until it's enough to take your place, you have to work hard first. They also know that the more your money works, the less amount of work you will have to do. Eckers claims that the main objective is to become financially free as soon as possible. He defines financial freedom in a simple way. It is the ability to live the lifestyle you desire without having to work or rely on anyone else for money. The key is acquiring passive income. So that's like the dream, right?
Yeah.
I like that definition of financial freedom.
It really is, because everybody's goal or definition of success might be different. You know, somebody might want millions. Somebody might be like, man, I can live my ideal life on $4,000 a month, or just whatever, you know.
Eric Worre just asked everybody in the accelerator program what's their definition of success, and there was like tons. Everybody had a different like definition, and they were trying to like use wordy. Even I was thinking like the sense of accomplishment, this and that, and then he actually told us the actual definition, and it was like, really? Like, that's kind of weak. I'm like, I feel like my definition of success is more like, oh, you know, and other people were like happiness and, you know, like lights and butterflies and this and that. And so I'm like, it really is just like personality.
It certainly is.
But financial freedom is different, because that is like not having to rely on anybody else. And so I think that that's huge, you know, and the passive income is really the kind of key. And I love how he talks about, look at all these rich people getting to go off and have fun. Like that's what we want to do.
Right.
So
very true. Yeah, I just saw John and his family are in the Dominican Republic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they were taking their kids down there and everything. So cool. What are your thoughts, Bradley?
I think essentially, like, I don't know, rich people are able to invest money too, though. So that's the thing. I think we watched a documentary on it. The rich become rich more and more because they have more money to shove in an account to play the stock market or something like that. You know, like a millionaire could put $1 million, put $1 million into a, I don't know, 10%, gain account every month, whereas we would have to put $1,000. They're going to gain more money quicker, right? But they've worked hard for the money. Essentially, yeah, they make their money work for them. And then eventually over time, you just start doing that stuff and just sit back and wait for it. So
there are
always looking for investments, always looking at where you can put your money at to invest into and what will get you, money in return. That's what they really are talking about.
Well, there are benefits that, like, if you go through a certain bank, like people talk about having like Swedish bank accounts or whatever, those banks have enormous amounts of benefits for them to help your money grow even larger. But you can't afford to get into them unless you have a bunch of money to begin with. So the rich continue to get richer because they have access to that type of stuff that normal people don't. And like that can make some people very angry, and that's not fair, and blah, 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 blah. Or it can motivate other people to be like, well, I'm going to get that. I'm going to be that. So it's really kind of a crazy piece of the puzzle, but you know, we just did our vision. Well, I did my vision board, which it is a family vision board. It went really well. And basically I just sat there and Googled all of these different things that I wanted to do. And then I just printed out like 3 pages with a bunch of different pictures and put them out. And like, I think like I have another poster board, and I think I might do another poster board with like smaller goals. Like this goal has like an RV on it and a house and like, you know, speaking in front of thousands and stuff. And I kind of want to do one that's just like a little bit more like attainable.
Hold on 1 quick second, sorry. Sorry.
Because like, yeah, if I put debt free on there, you know, build wealth and all that stuff, but like I want to do one that's a little bit more specific with smaller goals too. So that's kind of my next step. But okay, number 16. Rich people act in spite of fear, poor people let fear stop them. Early in the book, Eckers talks about the process of manifestation formula. It states, thoughts produce feelings, feelings will lead to actions, actions will lead to results. Millions of people think about being rich. In the real world where we exist, action is needed to succeed. If action is such an essential role in achieving success, then what is keeping us from taking these actions? What that we so well know we have to take? Fear. Fear, doubt, and worry are the most common barriers, not only to success, but also to happiness. One of the biggest differences observed between rich and poor people is that the rich are still willing to act even if they feel fear. Poor people, on the other hand, allow fear to stop them. In Susan Jeffers' book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, she claims that the biggest mistake people make is waiting for the feeling of fear to subside and disappear before they take action, something that will usually take them forever. This is a very
Heavy
real fact right there, right?
Quick bomb. Yep.
People are too afraid to even like say yes to like simple things sometimes. Like they're too afraid that it's not going to work out, so they'd rather just not even try at all. And that just doesn't make sense, because you know, you'd still get to just like, you get to decide if something's fearful or not. Like nobody else gets to decide it for you. Like I decided that I don't like snakes, you know, that's my decision, you know, like nobody else forced that on me. But what do you feel about fear?
You have to put yourself in those uncomfortable positions in order to get comfortable at them. That's basically what it's saying. Like people who are already rich are willing to take more risks. They're willing
Go sit
to
on the toilet.
dive into deeper investments, take risk with their money, take risks just in life in general. So that's what, you know, I got from it essentially. But you know,
Sit down, baby.
I'll deal with it.
Okay.
Good idea.
I think, you know, one of the things I think about with fear is like the fear to jump out of an airplane or the fear to bungee jump or things like that, you know, and it's like, when you look at it, sometimes I'm like, is that fear, do I gain anything from jumping out of an airplane? The only thing I gain is saying that I conquered a fear, right? Which can be really important and really, you know, smart and this and that. But there's other things that I want to, it's under the sink. There's other things that I still want to explore with going after the fear that are much more like relevant. And so holding a snake or jumping out of a plane or things like that may help push past like just fear as itself, but like the fear of making a phone call, or the fear of like jumping into something, or the fear of like offending somebody or sharing, you know, your thoughts and feelings and stuff like that is more relevant and makes more sense to like the daily things. And if you do enough of that, then it's like you don't really have the same thoughts processes about being afraid for things like jumping out of an airplane and stuff like that, because it's not the same thing. So
True.
yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are pretty much, especially if it's like that could really benefit you, why not? Just get uncomfortable, get into hot, messy action, do the next indicated thing. If it's not working, then plan, do, review, and move on. Those, like when I'm super uncomfortable, I'm like getting pushed by the pain. I wish I was one of the people that got pulled by the light more instead of pushed by the pain. But usually I hit a certain pain level where I'm like, well, what is worse? Actually giving this a try and investing in myself and trying to change things for the better, or staying stuck and miserable,
Mhm. I just had a friend tell me on another person that I Marco Polo with, she was like trying to get her business up and off the ground. And she'd kind of started talking about like, what if I have another child? And she's like, maybe that will be the motivation to get, my business off the ground. And maybe that will be the motivation to, work on other relationship things and this and that. And, I really thought, I was like, to be pushed by something so life-changing by having a child to get this stuff, like, I think you need to reevaluate your why. Why do you want all these things in the first place? Because it sounds like your why isn't deep enough for you to conjure up the energy to do it now without bringing in another human life into this world, especially when, there's some things in your life that will be much harder having another child in. And so it is sometimes really hard when I feel like, even with like my assignments, when I'm given an assignment, like I will get it done. I got a little bit excited today because the trip incentive that they're doing through Team Vision Cast to go to Las Vegas, I wasn't all that excited about it. I was like, okay, like that's nice, cool beans, whatever. And then I saw my name on there and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm on the list. I am tied for, what is it? 16th. I have 5 points. The person in the lead has 11.
Yay.
And so it's kind of like,
Our team's 80.
I'm kind of like, I could like get up because so 9, 11, 10, and 9. And then there's 2 tied for 8 and it's the top 4. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's only 3 enrollments to get to like tied to be 4th, 4 enrollments, and then it's not even to include, rank advancing and all this other stuff. And so it was kind of one of those moments where I was just like, well, what the heck, like I could do that. But I really wasn't pushed by it. There wasn't like something like really getting me going to really do that until I kind of saw this that triggered something in my brain where I was like,
there's a shot here. Let's do it.
Right. So when you have that kind of like when the last Vegas one to go to Eric Worre's house, like that triggered something because like it was Eric Worre. And then the Mexico triggered something because, I wanted a trip. And so it's interesting when you can recognize those triggers in your own self. And then like your brain doesn't know the difference if you activate that trigger yourself and not through a third party, And so it just kind of reminded me of that. So any other thoughts on that one? Otherwise we'll jump into the final one.
Sounds good.
Rich people constantly learn and grow. Poor people think they already know. Oh my gosh. Okay. In Ecker's live seminars, he discusses the 3 most dangerous words in the English language. Those words are, I know that. So how do you know that you know something? If you live it, you know it. Otherwise, you heard about it. You read about it or you talk about it, but you don't know it. frankly, if you are not rich and happy, there's a good chance that there is still a lot of things that you can learn about money, success, and life. Consider this. If you're not as successful as you'd like to be, there's something you don't know. One of Ecker's more well-known lines is, you can be right or you can be rich, but you can't be both. You are considered right if you hold on to your old way of thinking and being, but these are also the ways that brought you to where you are now. Author and speaker Jim Rohn, that actually makes perfect sense here. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got. There you have it, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind book summary. All 17 wealth principles. We're done. But we're not going to end the call without unpacking that mess.
Mm-hmm.
We all grew up in Minnesota, us three here, and not to categorize and lump everybody in Minnesota, but like our parents, our grandparents, were all raised in very small town, small-minded ways, and they're very set in their ways. We have family that was very, very like closed-minded to certain things, whether it was a religious backing or whether it was a, this is how it's always been. It was almost like this generational thing that like, I already know that. And it was like, I feel like I heard this whole idea of, I know that constantly, like, I know better. I'm not willing to change. I don't need to learn anything else. Like, it's just is what it is. And we come up against that a lot in nutrition, that people are like, I know how to lose weight. And there's not even this ability to like learn something new. Like, I could actually probably go live on this subject, because like, this is such a good topic to bring up. And there's too many people that are set in their ways and complain about it. And I just don't have the time or energy to like entertain that. So what do you think, Bradley?
Yes, I agree. You see that with everything. You see that in work. You see that with money. You see that with working out. You see that with nutrition. You see that with everything. People just think they know it, and then they don't want to take your advice until it's too late. I see it all the time in the military, where people like to make fun of the guy who's always constantly going to the gym and eating clean, and and then 6-7 months later, that person that was making fun of them is overweight and busting tape and on the verge of getting kicked out of the army. And then they're like, hey, I guess I don't know it all. Can you help me out? It's just,
Yep.
It's a real tough pill to swallow type thing. And so I can see how that correlates with money, success, and life all together. And I can say that I sometimes fall into this category of like, I know it, or I know that. And it's something I've been working on not to do.
I don't think you're in an unhealthy way with it. I think we all have a little bit of a, I know about that, but it's like not in a fashion where it's like, I am not even open to learning anything else about that subject, Alice, don't throw that down, please. What are your thoughts on that experiences?
Well, I think people are stuck where they want to grow, and when they get stuck and uncomfortable enough, then they're more willing to grow. And pretty much, the analogy I always use is, I have a little hula hoop right around me here, and all I can control is in this hula hoop. It is not very much. Everything else outside my hula hoop is beyond my control. It's like, you can't control people, places, and situations. You can only be in charge of yourself and hope that you're influencing others in a positive way. And if you're not, then you can also have boundaries around that. But yeah,
That's good. I had a conversation this last week that there's like one thing that you can't change about who you are and what it is, and that's your age. Like you can't be any older or younger. You can change your hair, your facial features, you can swap out most of your organs and things like that. You can, change genders, you can change your personality, do all these things. You cannot change your age. You cannot get time back. And like we were talking about something that was going to require taking me out of this momentum and kind of placing me somewhere else that I'm been invited to, and I'm like not really all that excited to do. And it's like time you can't change. You can't take that away. Like it is constantly going to keep moving. And so when you recognize that every minute matters and that spending as much of that in growing and doing the things that matter and like releasing what doesn't, like it just changes your perspective on things and how you want to be there and what you can, you know, put into control and things. And so it's always a tricky thing when somebody says something that just kind of sets you off and like, you know, turns on an alarm in your body and you're like, did they really just say that? Like, and then you have to calm back down and just be like that. I can't control what comes out of their mouth. I can't control what I do next. And so there is a lot of, there is like this frequency scale, and high frequency is like happy, you know, freedom, like great, good vibes or whatever. And then low vibration is like guilt and shame and anger and all this stuff. And a lot of like this poor person mentality that he's talked about this whole book are very low frequencies. It's, you know, especially in this last bit, because most of the time, like there are some people out there that are considered poor or consider themselves poor and they're happy as a lark. And that's rich right there. Like I put rich on my vision board and it wasn't to be like money rich. It's so that I'm rich in love and in emotion and rich in, you know, happiness and abundancy in other ways and stuff too. So it's not just about money, it's about all these things, but I think that it all goes hand in hand. And it's like money doesn't buy happiness, but you know, it can provide a freedom that other things can't. You know, it's up there with air and water. Like you just can't survive without money. And so giving it this completely different outlook that we've done this whole book can really just change a lot when it comes to how you have your relationship with it. And so again, like rounding it back to having that relationship with your body and relationship with your nutrition and stuff, the same thing, you need to have that kind of relationship with money and with wealth and with attracting and all that stuff. So I think it's good, honestly, to read this book every few, you know, years or whatever makes sense to you. If you ever feel like you're starting to slip on like how you're perceiving money or how things are like coming on into your life, it's just good to do a refresher like this. So any closing thoughts, Bradley?
No, you closed it up pretty well.
Any closing thoughts, Molly?
No, just that, you know, I thought it was a really good book and it definitely needed a money mindset change. So I will definitely be reviewing and
Yes.
learn and grow some more.
Miles, any final thoughts?
Yeah.
What do you have?
What you got?
Okay. He's got powers. So
Hey.
we'll go ahead and stop